Bro, I'm excited to get into this podcast episode. You're definitely one of the very few guys that I've actually had my eyes on to get on. So grateful, man. Grateful that you chose to jump on.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on, man, for sure. Yeah, good opportunity.
Yeah,
So,
keen to get in, man. But before we do, there's definitely going to be your followers jumping on board to watch, this very first podcast that you've been on.
Yeah.
But we're going to have our followers that don't know who you are. So is there any chance that you can just share a bit about who you are?
Yeah. So, I'm from Southwest Sydney. Loud and proud. No, just joking. Yeah, so, oh man, where do I start?
What's your name?
My name's Blake Danchisen. Yeah, so a lot of people
talk a bit about your last name, because I did ask you at the start about your last name and how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned to me that a lot of adults find it hard to pronounce it.
Before doing the nutrition game, I was a school teacher. I still do some school teaching here and there occasionally, and I found that the teachers themselves would absolutely butcher my name. But when it came to the kids...
Can you give me an example?
Oh, I think it was like Mr. Danchester.
Danchester?
I was like, what in the syllables is that? I was like, where do you get Danchester from? I was like, that's interesting. And it was said so many times over, and I was like, it doesn't even sound like that. I've had Danchisen.
Yeah.
That's a pretty regular one. But yeah, people always butcher it. Yeah.
And sorry. So Blake.
Yeah. So I've trained as a school teacher, like a primary school teacher, and I taught for, I think it was like 6 or 7 years, and like I realized that I wanted to move into something else that was a little bit more fulfilling. So I'd always done like the training in the gym, and I was like, imagine bringing your passion into your full-time job, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how I slowly bridged into realizing I wanted to be a coach is I had competed in it was my second bodybuilding show. It was like Men's Physique. And I ended up coming second. Like the first round, the first show was like the qualifier. It was a state show, and I come like fifth, and it was a little bit demotivating. Then the next step was to go down and compete in Melbourne at the Arnold Classic, and I made it like my goal to like just put everything into it for the next 2 weeks, and I ate nothing but fish and asparagus.
Damn.
Yeah, I ate fish and asparagus for the next 2 weeks, and I managed to drop another few kilos. And that brought me in more shredded.
Yeah.
So then when I went to Melbourne, I was able to get at the Arnold Classic. That was in 2017. I was able to get second in the men's physique division that I did. And I just felt like you shouldn't really take validation from it, but it's like to work really, really hard for something, and then have it pay off. It was just one of the most like rewarding experiences ever. And I put a lot of work into that, and I trained for like half a decade leading up to that as well. And yeah, I was really happy with my coach that had helped me at the time.
Yep.
And he didn't want to take any payment or anything like that because he was just new to it as well.
As you would usually do at the start when you start any businesses, you start doing some freemiums. That's what I call them.
Yeah. What is that? Freemiums?
Freemiums.
Yeah.
Freemiums, not premiums. You're giving the premium experience at a freemium price. That's what I call
it. I like that. Freemium. I like that. Yeah. That's really good. I have to use that. Just take that into my notes. Yeah, just fold that away. Yeah. So he did that for me. I bought him like a nice like Armani exchange watch because I had one at the time as well. And I loved it. Wow. And I was like, yeah, I'll give him this. And he loved it. Like he was like so grateful and everything like that. Because I tried to give him money. I was just so ecstatic that I managed to walk away with
second place.
Yeah, with the second place. And I competed a few years before that, and man, I was like 10th. I just got smoked. Yeah, so I got smoked in that show. I was shredded, but I was like a big tall cricket. You know what I mean? Like I was just like a big praying mantis.
Yeah.
And yeah, so to put another like 4 years into training and then do quite well, walk away and do quite well, I was really, really happy. And then I like really had the bug for it. Anyway, I got back up to New South Wales and continued that. I think that was in like my first or second year of teaching. And And some people had seen like my transformation, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, do you think you'd be able to help us out?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Because even though I had a coach for that competition, because he had approached me and said, "I'll get you ready for like the Arnold Classic coming up." And I was like, "Yeah, sounds good." That's the amateur Arnold Classic, not the pro one, obviously. Yeah,
the one that's in here, not the one
yeah. And he said, he goes, I forgot. I lost my train of thought there. I was talking about. Yeah, so he said, "I'll get you ready for this comp." I was like, "No worries," and then that's how I got onto him. So I didn't actually go seeking a coach, but he had approached me and said that he'd help me get ready for the show. And I followed everything that he said to the book, and he kind of like went MIA on me probably about 6 weeks out, and then I sent through 10 weeks out, and then I sent through pictures of where I was at, and then he was like, "Oh, like wow, you actually." Stuck to it and you've done really well. Yeah. So then I think he sort of clicked over and went, all right, it's worth investing my time into him. So he worked with me up until the comp, and we did really well. And it was pretty cool. Like this is a whole mindset thing, right? Between them two, because the things that I've learned like in bodybuilding and doing competitions, I've been able to apply to so many things in my life, relationships, and definitely business, because it's that perseverance, believing in yourself, even if no one else sees it. So, because it was kind of like, it knocked me down a bit when I didn't walk away with a place at the state show. Yeah. And then I was like, now I'm going to go down to Melbourne, and it's an international show where competitors come in from overseas as well. So if I can't like even win in my state, how am I going to go well in
the one in Melbourne, which is a world?
Yeah. And I said to him, I go, man, I'm going to give it everything I have for the next 2 weeks, and I'm going for first. And he's like, all right, don't get too excited. We didn't even get like third.
Yeah, we didn't even get like third.
Yeah. And I said, and I don't care if I don't get first, but I'm gonna approach this next 2 weeks like I'm gonna get first. Otherwise, what's the point of like putting the effort and the work in? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I gave myself like that 2 weeks to do everything I could in my power and it was hard 2 weeks to get there. And I'd come in good shape in that short amount of time. I dropped a fair bit of body fat, and then ended up going down there and then walking away with the second place, which to me was just as good as the first. It didn't even matter. Do you know what I mean? And it was a pretty big lineup of guys. There was over 10 guys in that division, so it wasn't just like I was winning against 2 other guys.
Yep.
And then like that had given me the bug. Anyway, people had seen that transformation, and then they said, "Could you help me?" So then I was like, "All right, no worries." And I started helping, but I charged them because I didn't know who they were, like, and they were just sort of blow-ins, you know what I mean? People that I'd sort of come across at the gym, but I charged them a really low fee. Yeah. And
one thing I will say is that it's lower than what you're charging now.
Yeah. And it was
and it's not freemiums.
Yeah, it wasn't even freemiums, because I think with the whole freemium idea, you invest that time into someone that you would think can actually like pay off for you in one like shape or another. Do you know what I mean? Like
you want the investment of you not getting paid.
Yeah.
To actually pay off.
Yeah, and it not have to pay off with actual coin, but it can pay off with
results.
Results. You continuing to build your name. Like there's many other things other than just money that can build your business, because it's really, you got to think of like it's like the whole teach a man how to fish. Like, no, let me get that right. Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Yeah. Teach a man how to fish, feed him for a lifetime. Like it really is that. Yeah, just take that down. Yeah, screwed it up the first time, but that's all right. Close enough, good enough. Yeah, so that was So anyway, started helping them for like I helped one guy, got really good results with him. Then his brother jumped on board, got really good results with him. And the good results also came from people that are dedicated and consistent. You know what I mean? Like they were
they've already got that, I guess, the extra edge compared to what we would call like the general population that are just coming through, just wanting to see change.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
I like it. I see what you did there. So they were just like they were two brothers and they're like gym bros, you know what I mean? So they already had like a good base on them to begin with. So then that made it easier. Yeah. So when we dieted the body fat back, they looked quite good. They already had like a good decent genetic structure.
And also
like that as
to add on top of that was like the mindset. Like they already had the drive to like go to the gym and
Yeah.
to stay dedicated. So it made it a lot more, I guess I wouldn't say easy, but simple for you to trim the fat.
Yep. 100%. Like I always say, when I get certain people on, it's like I'll get a V8 on, and all I'm doing is putting the supercharger on it.
And then you got others where you're trying to put the V8 in, and then it's like, there's actually we have to take it all off. We'll take it off, trim it off.
Put the V8 in the Kia Rio, eh?
Or the Tarago.
Or the Tarago. Yeah, so there's a certain amount of dedication and like lifestyle factors that will play into it. So got good results with them. They got a few more, like it kind of like had sort of networked out, and then I got referrals through them, work with more people through them, 2 boys. And I think I was up to maybe about 5, 6, 7 clients or something like that. And I was charging a low fee, and my time invested in them wasn't really like paying off. And then they wanted it even cheaper than what I was charging. I was like, man, the amount of messages and the time that I put in, and not only that, but you might do an update, and that update is 5 minutes of your time, but you've put an hour of thought into it. Like
that actually hits me right there.
Yeah, man.
I definitely understand that one.
Yeah, man. It's like people don't realize, they just think, oh, what, he just did that little cut and paste, but it's taken years to get to that point to know what to cut and paste to put in there.
You know what? That is the reason why you're getting paid.
Yeah,
that's the reason why you're getting paid that amount. But we both know that not everyone understands that.
Yeah,
and you know what? I'll be honest. Like I don't like, even on my personal experience with my business. Like, I don't expect them to understand. Yeah. But at the same time, too, I kind of do. Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, give me a bit of grace here. Like, first of all, it's my business. First of all, another thing, too, is that it's just me. Yeah. And that's something that you can relate to when you started. Yeah. Was that it was just you. Yeah.
100%. That's exactly right. And I think just being blunt with people can help sometimes as well. Like, if they're going to take it the wrong way, it's going to be on them. As like, so with that, like, one of the particular guys, I was like, look, man, I'm investing a lot of time into this, and you're already getting it pretty cheap. If anything, I feel like increasing the price, but I'm not going to do that. And you want it discounted. Like, it's like, come on, man. Like, it's like they're degrading your time and effort that you put into it.
I think also too, it degrades your work. Yeah. And it degrades you as a coach and you doing the nutrition program. But then, okay, we got that, which is yourself, but it also degrades your clients. Yeah. The other clients that are paying in full. Yeah. And 100%. That are actually, working towards that. And then you got other people out there that are trying to get discounts.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Like,
so it's like multiple.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, man. It is. It's and when you're like selling your time, it's like, how much is your time worth? Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't really, it's not like you have an overstock of materials and you're trying to sell off some of those materials. Yeah. And you're just not going to make as big a profit on it. Yeah. Like, any minute should be just as valuable as the next. So, and people, and it's right, you can't really expect some people to understand that, but then sometimes you just explain it to them.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's the thing. That's one thing I was going to add on.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Just adding them in, and you know what? I've noticed that too. Like, when you're running a business when you're actually in the business. I mentioned this in the last podcast episode, which is the difference between an entrepreneur and entrepreneur. Yeah. You got the people that want. Then you actually got entrepreneurs out there that actually are doing the work. Yeah. And going through. And I've noticed with entrepreneurs and people that are actually in the business, they go through a lot of struggles of trying to get clients in and sort of things and so forth. But even when they have clients come through, like, that's their opportunity to educate them, as you just mentioned, about, okay, this is the reason why we don't do discounts. This is the reason why you're paying this amount. If anything, I should be, as you're mentioning, like, increasing prices because my value is going up. Yeah. But I'm choosing to stay faithful with you. Yeah. Now, my question on that is for you is, like, how did you navigate, like, managing those times of, when people are trying to, like, bring down the prices and, on your side of things? Yeah.
So that there in itself, that was like the first time I started to kick off this coaching thing, and that was like back in 2017. Yeah. Okay. Wow. And it actually, like, had discouraged me because I was like, man, I'm sinking all this time into these people, and then they're not appreciating it. Yeah. And I was like, I'm worth more than that. Yeah. So actually, those people had finished their coaching, and I just didn't get more people on, like purposefully. And I took a step back from it, focused back on teaching, and just kept teaching, enjoying training, enjoying life, and then like saved for an apartment. I just changed my sort of priorities at the time, and then I was like, this is a good story, right? So I wanted to get a bit more training in it, and I knocked back my teaching to 3 days, and I did that for I was loving life because I was making, because I was earning like less money, I was getting more money for the hours that I was working because you know, tax bracket, you know, and I was like, this is good. It's enough. I'm pretty good with my money. I don't sort of overextend myself. I live within my means. So that I wasn't too stressed. I had enough work in there to stimulate me and sort of keep me sort of progressing along that way and saving, And then my wife comes up to me. And then the other days because these days I was having off, I'd go train for a few hours, drive over to Cronulla, go train over there, go for a swim. You know what I mean? I was doing this 4 days of the week while she was working the 5 days. And it was still evenly paying for things and everything like that. But she goes, Blake, didn't you do 3 days so you could further your studies? And I was like, yeah, I've been looking for that course. I was like, I need to pull my finger out and have a go. Like, you know what I mean? It was so funny, but it was like the kick in the ass I needed. Yeah. And I was glad for it. You know what I mean? Like, I was glad that she kicked me in the ass and said, like, come on, pull your finger out. Let's do it. Like, you need to do this. It's the whole reason you're teaching back to 3 days a week. But yeah, gone from like a pretty high pressure 5 days a week to a new school, which was way better for me, like mentally. Better relationship with, I had good relationships at the first school, but the second school was just better relationship with the boss as well, with the principal,
which helps out
100%, man, 100%. And I went in there telling her that I'll like eventually want to go off and do like online coaching or PTing or whatever. At the time, I'd said that that's the space that I eventually wanted to branch into. So I wanted to be honest with her straight off the bat, and being honest with her straight off the bat like that formed like the foundation of a really good relationship with us. She'd already known me before that and wanted me over at the school, but then for me to like tell her, look, I want to, I eventually don't want to be here. It's kind of like a tough pill for her to swallow when she thinks like, oh, I've finally got, like, not finally, but I've got Blake here that I want to be as part of this school, and eventually he wants to go off and do his own thing. A lot of employers, even though she's like, that whole principal is part of the DET and not really working for her. Anyway, it still is like, I'm still part of their team then. And it'd be a lot worse if it was like a business owner. And then it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use this to get by and then and then go off and do my own thing, which a lot of people do anyway. But but just having that honesty like straight from the start gave me a good relationship with her, and then she allowed me to do my thing on the side. So I did the study, finished the study, and then I had someone approach me that I'd known through the gyms and everything like that, training through the years and that. Hey Blake, would you be able to, do you think you'd be able to coach me for like a 12-week block? And I was like, yep, no worries. So work with him.
While you're still doing teaching?
Yeah, while I was still doing teaching. So the 3 days. And then got good results with him, then took on his wife, got good results with them too, and then it all started to take off again. But I charged at a more fair price for me and my time. And I felt like it was an even trade. So I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Yes, that's funny. It's like I was undervaluing myself before, and I found like what I'd be happy to value myself at, and then that was like, okay, this is, and it was still competitive against what other people were doing out there, and I actually at the same time that I was doing this, I picked up more days for teaching. So I think I was up to like 4 or 5 days sometimes, and then the other 2 days later in the week. So I think I was like working Monday through to Wednesday, and then I started picking up Thursdays and Fridays. And with the Thursdays and Fridays, again, that made my time less to do the study, to do the training, to do the online coaching. But I was like, nah, like this is make or break time, because we're trying to save for a house and stuff like that as well. So I'm not big on putting all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
I like to put my eggs in a few different baskets so I can think, okay, I got this growing, I got this like plant growing here, this plant growing here, this plant growing here, and then if one of them doesn't work out,
you want to get the other one. Yeah,
you've still got two others.
it's like pillars. So, it's like you think about a table. It's like if one arm comes down, obviously it's going to be off, but the other three are still standing.
Yeah. Absolutely, man, 100%. And then you can keep riding the platform up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So doing that, I felt like I was continued because sometimes like you'll go through different points in your life, and one of those like pillars will stop growing. And then when you're not growing, you go stagnant. You can feel like a bit down, a bit depressed. You know what I mean? And then
which you did mention about when you're doing it for free at the start.
Yeah.
And then you kind of got a bit of the persistence of your clients kind of telling you like, oh yeah, it's pretty much like you felt degraded, and then you let that go.
Yeah.
And then it was like a long time before you actually brought it back up.
Yeah.
That would be like a good example.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right, man. And again, it was like that whole like what the hardest point like in the whole business journey was thinking from stopping doing the original clients to then that bridging gap was maybe a year and a half or something like that, maybe 2 years even. I was like, how am I going to get to that point? Because I had actually left the one school from where I was working 5 days a year, and I was about to renew my contract there at that school, and I was like, nah, I think I want to do something else. So then I went to another school and then was 3 days there.
Yeah, so I went from 5 to 3.
Yeah, 5 to 3, and then that gave me room to like grow in another aspect of my life. You know what I mean? So it's like, I was earning less money, but that just meant I had to be smarter with my money.
Yes.
To then still not be missing out on anything. Do you know what I mean? So, it was the best move. It was the best move ever. Like off the bat, it was. It's funny because I'd met my wife there at that school as well.
Oh.
So I thought it was actually teacher.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was
crazy.
like, So I was like, it'll actually be a good move for our relationship as well if we don't work together, because we'd be at home together, and then we would have lunch. Then we'd have lunch together, and like at lunch, it's like. I would look back at it. I think we even had convos about it. I was like, maybe we should have lunch with other people. So then we've got stories. So then we got stories to tell when we come home. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's not the same. It's not the same like having lunch with your wife at work or your partner at work. You know what I mean? Just even looking back at it, it's just funny thinking about it. Yeah. So fast forward. Just to try to get. So leaving that 5 days a week, I didn't just go, I quit, I'm going to do coaching. I was like, nah, I quit this place, but I'm still going to teach, but I'm going to get something happening on the side. And it took me like 6 months, man, because I didn't pull my finger out of my ass, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's right, because you were just chilling.
Yeah, I was just chilling. I was just loving life. And it was a matter of 6 months. I felt so free, relaxed.
Bro, this guy driving to Cronulla after he just finished his training.
Yeah. It was good. It was a good day. It was a good time. Not a good day. It felt like a day because it went fast. So, no, it was, and then she just told me that, and she gave me that like good slap in the face, and that's what I needed. Like I've always worked well off like constructive criticism or just like people that are pretty blunt.
Yeah. They tell it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't sugarcoat it. They just say, hey, this is what the issue is, and you got to deal with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I was like, I think she even like laid it a little bit thicker than that, and I was like, "Ooh, that hurts the ego a little bit." You know, it's like
funny enough, like I've noticed that it hurts the most when it comes from the people that you love.
Yeah.
And that you actually care, and like everything that they say actually means like a lot to you, especially when it comes to the hard truth. Yeah. And I know that like your wife now, like letting you know that hey, you gotta pull your finger up your ass and get into it.
Yeah. 100%, man. It was good. Like it was a good slap in the face. I needed it, and then I was like, all right, and I got stuck in, did what I needed to do, and then like I said, I had the one guy jump on. It was Fred and Rowena, and it kind of had taken off from there. So I'd helped them, and then they had like some of their actual like mentors in their business and stuff had jumped on as well, worked with them. And then I was just sort of sharing my stuff online, on my personal page, and then just over time it slowly built up, and I kept on teaching, and then I was putting in the hours when I'd come home with the coaching. So I was working the 2 jobs.
Straight hustle, man.
Yeah. But but it was all worth it. Like it's like, because I went from being like that uni student who was more lazy and just cruising through life, and to the exact opposite. And I only kind of found that really good, like that really hard work ethic in my late 20s, where like my early 20s I was just on cruise control.
Just cruise control.
Yeah. So it just kind of it was like, all right, now's make or break time. Yeah, I actually need to do something and pull my finger out, and then have a good hard crack. And then over time, I was like, how do I build a business that is going to continually feed me clients and keep me busy enough that I can break away from teaching? So then, the power of social media and sort of promoting your product and helping others, and then that is just like reflected over time.
Pretty much going to where you are now.
100%. Yeah, it's just crazy. There's so many like different avenues I could talk about, because it's like you need to wear so many different hats, and it's like you've got your marketing, you've got your you've got all your admin, then you have
customer, like the customer journey.
The customer success. That is like, without that you have nothing. You have
no
nothing.
product, like no end result. And no money.
Exactly. 100%.
Just the financial side of things.
So it's like, it's funny, like I went straight to the marketing and the admin stuff, because the marketing is like all the contents, obviously, and showing the work that you've done, your like portfolio of work, right? But working with the clients for me is the easy part and the enjoyable part and the rewarding part. But sometimes it's like admin's definitely, or it's always going to be boring. Unless you're into that thing. For me, it's not interesting, but each their own. And then the content can be really enjoyable, or it can be just hard, or it can be frustrating, or you could put heaps of time into like creating a clip, and you think it'll go well, and then it won't go well, and then you'll throw up something like of you just walking and talking with bad audio, and everyone relates to it. And everyone relates to it. So it's really hard to. That's like a ever forever changing landscape, and to keep up with that can be like pretty draining as well in itself. Like, what do people want to see? Do people want to see highly edited stuff? Do people want to see raw stuff? And then it's like, as soon as you start to get a bit of a flow on with one thing, it's like boring already, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of sort of pressure in that as well. And it's like wearing the many hats. Like that's the point that I'm at now. So like, my wife is on maternity leave. Well, she was on maternity leave, but now she falls under the umbrella of the business. So we're like, we both work on it together. I have her sometimes doing some of the content and definitely all the admin stuff, and then just like pay her through that avenue. It's just interesting. Like, that's all the stuff that you don't think about and look at, and a lot of time and energy needs to go into that, because it's like, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. You know what I mean? Like, you want to have a successful business, you want to have enough clients, and then before you know it, you've got so many that they're coming out of your ears, and you can't service all of them.
Or you can't even manage it.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's when it can be, and then you need to walk the fine line between not being too greedy, because if you're too greedy and then your like your quality of work goes down, then your name goes down with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, even if you look at like the Sea Change page, there'll be times where I'll be pumping out heaps of content because maybe I have a bit more spare time that week, or I got on a roll, or I'm flowing off some motivation. Like, I'm all big on like discipline and motivation, but that's something that I need to be more consistent with. And it's like posting the work and everything out there. And then like, as well, there's that aspect of me that I've like always been brought up to be humble and everything like that as well. But you need to promote yourself. Like, it's really what you need to do. There's
I think about what you just mentioned about like humility. I think a lot of people, I think it's very cliche, but I think it's very poised that we mention this. There's a big difference between being cocky and being confident.
Yeah.
And I think people that choose the humble route and try and, live in humility, they kind of get caught in that.
Yeah.
That space of like, oh, I don't want to show that I'm cocky, but it's like, you're not.
Yeah.
like you are still who you are, but people need to know your product. People need to know like who's behind the lens or who's behind Sea Change Nutrition.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did you go through that? Like, how did you? Because you mentioned that humility is one thing that you'd like to uphold. How did you navigate that? Because I know for myself, I struggled with the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like trying to carry that humility and to humble yourself, because that's usually the if we're playing the long game of business, that is the way to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you navigate that?
So I think it is a fine line to walk. So
Especially on social media,
yeah,
and especially the fact that you've done comps,
yeah, yeah,
and that's another thing too.
yeah, yeah,
Like the fact that you have to actually show your body and show
Yeah.
your physique,
yeah.
but at the same time, a lot of people will see that as cockiness or you being, prideful.
Or even just to touch on that in itself, right? Because there's like two good points that I could talk about. So like we'll come back to that. We'll talk about the
business side of things.
No, we'll talk about the showing your showing your physique off and stuff like that. So
okay.
So with that part, it's like I think your that is like your first work. You know what I mean? So why did someone come to me in the first place? Because they were able to see like my first transformation. So it's like, okay, if this guy lives it and breathes it, he must know how to maybe give me some tips to get me there. And then being able to help other people. And then it was funny because I when I started working with those two guys, I was like, oh, I actually got a knack for this. This all just makes sense because it's all those years that I was working on myself was like training. Do you know what I mean? Like training my mind for how to work with people and get them the results that they needed, because every person's different as well. So I think with Pete, like a big problem with the personal training industry, like at this time, is some people don't look the part. You know what I mean? So they don't look like trainers.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would I go to you when I could lift more than you, or I could do? Because I remember it was like sometimes you see their memes or whatever. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's like, I'll remember that the next time I'm smaller than you. You know what I mean? But that's like as like arrogant as that is. That's how you think, but you know what I mean? So it's like you need to be able to practice what you preach, and you need to be able to show people that you have what it takes to be able to tell people what to do as well. So it's like, what good is your word if you don't even follow that yourself? Because people see through all of that stuff. So if you're trying to get X person lean, to drop body fat, or to even take them to the extreme of getting them ready for a bodybuilding comp or a bikini comp, then you need to have been able to demonstrate that yourself. So I myself, when I look for a coach, I would either look at how they look or who they've helped.
That's right.
So the only problem is with some coaches, if you look at some coaches and they look unreal all the time, part of that could be genetics. Part of it could be they're just posting when they look their greatest. But there's a fine line between. I think it's important to maybe go with someone that either themselves go through that stage of like dad bod to shredded bod to have all their different phases, or go with someone that's helped people do that. So they've been able to help people go from like dad bod to god bod or whatever you want to say. You know what I mean? For lack of a better term, you need to be able to see that demonstrated. So it's like, would you hire someone to do your kitchen if you'd never seen their work? It's like, just because they've got a kitchen guy in the newspaper, you know what I mean? Oh, I'll call this guy. Hey, do you do kitchen? Yes, sweet. Come to the kitchen. You'll be nervous as because you haven't seen his work before.
That's right.
But if you've seen a portfolio of his work, you'd be like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. You need to make sure that person isn't a snake either, because I've heard of many stories of people asking for people's before and after transformations to put on their coaching page. And that's crazy, man.
That
I know.
is crazy.
I know.
I don't even think of that.
And the problem is, how stupid of that person to even ask that of that person, because then that person goes around and tells 10 people that they're a fraud. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy. It's just crazy, bro. So I think like, if you're false, people will see through it. If not initially, eventually. And I think that's a really important one. Like for business, you need to be as truthful as possible, because you'll come unstuck eventually. That's just the way the world works, you know what I mean? Like karma, and it's just one example, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and then so I think you need a certain level, because I think even growing up like here in Southwest Sydney, we're always taught to be humble, and then people from other areas and that might look down upon us or whatever. And
If you know, you know.
Yeah. And if that can actually be a bit of it can eat away at your self-confidence, and if you let that take over, then you won't push yourself and you won't feel worthy, because we constantly have conversations with ourselves in our own head of, what does that person think of me? What am I doing this right? Have I done that right? What will people think of me if I do this? What if I do that? You know what I mean? And if you get too locked in your own head, you're not really gonna branch out enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It just can be like a self-fulfilling prophecy
Yeah.
of, okay, you'll go as far as what you can imagine yourself going, and that's it.
Yeah.
But as soon as you like open your mind and go, well, I want to be that person, you need to like start living like that person. Do everything that you can to become that person, because eventually you will create that new self. You know what I mean? Anyway, I went on a bit of a tangent there.
No, that's fine. It's funny, people don't understand that like this is your first podcast.
Yeah.
And it feels like you've been doing podcasting for like ages, bro. Just by the way that you speak.
Thanks, I'll take that as a compliment, man.
Write it down.
I just take that down. I just put a chip on my shoulder. So so we're told to be humble, right? And not only that, but like even let's just talk about cultural things, right?
Yes.
I went to school with a lot of Islander boys, right? Heaps of them. Majority of my friends are all Islanders and of different nationalities. I haven't got really too many Aussie mates at all. Just I think probably from where I grew up and just everything, you know what I mean? So a lot of that in itself is like always taught to be humble and respect elders, which you should respect elders always. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes to the point where it's like you respect them too much, and you're so afraid of being confident in yourself that you end up like knocking yourself down. You know what I mean? So like I remember sometimes I'll be talking to someone, and if I feel like my stature or whatever is intimidating them, I try to like even stand a bit smaller and make myself a bit smaller. And I'm like, what am I essentially doing there? Like I'm actually lowering like my own energy. So then when I'm talking to this person, I'm not really myself, because I'm like trying to make myself look more humble. Like you're so busy like trying to make yourself look small and less humble, small and more humble that you're not really being yourself. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like, it's a funny thing, because I was just talking to one of the boys about this yesterday, and he was saying like his whole life he would always be humble, and it was even on job sites and that, he'd always like sort of put his head. He's a massive guy as well, right? He'd just show respect, put his head down, but out of respect, not out of like I'm a little bitch or anything like that, right? But then people would try to start putting it over you. Then you know what I mean. So if you're always humble in that, then they think, oh, you're a pushover.
So it's a bit of like a balance. You got to have that bit of balance of like humility, but at the same time like showing that bit of confidence in yourself and not allowing other people to step and tread foot on you.
Yeah, 100%. It's like because I sometimes have that problem as well, where like I come across friendly, nice, approachable, whatever.
And people take that for granted.
They do, man. Straight away, they do it fast. And in business, I know. And in business, they'll do it. They'll do it in business as well. And that's the sad thing. Like
that's so true, man.
And it's funny because it's like the nice guy always, the saying, the nice guy always finishes last. But it's not always the case in business, because I still have a lot of hope for that, because the whole reason I've been so successful is because people have said positive things about how I've helped them achieve this or that or whatever, or maybe them just an interaction with them. And I think just the interactions with people are the most important things of all, because they're like your support network. You're like, humans are meant to be in a tribe. And I think that's why, oh man, we're going down a lot of rabbit holes here.
Let's go.
I think that's why like depression and that was so bad and continues to be so bad. And like after lockdown, because everyone was just segregated in their little pods and separated from each other.
That's so true.
When people need to be together, because we're meant to be together and communicating and putting shit on each other and laughing and
having a banter.
Yeah. It's so important, and when that's taken away, it's like we're lost. And not only that, but like you got to think. Imagine like having interactions like this and how good this is, and we'll walk away from this feeling mad.
This is hectic.
We'll walk away from this feeling mad. You know what I mean? Like like buzzing and everything like that. That's from a social interaction that we've had, and and finding like commonalities and everything like that, and finding just finding things in common, and it could be even just the way we look at the world. Do you know what I mean? And not having that, and having like being stuck in social media, like scrolling. What are you doing when you're scrolling on social media? You're constantly comparing yourself to somebody else's life. Oh, that person's more shredded. That person got a new car. That person's got a new baby. That person got married. Like, so you're constantly getting like this negative. It's like negative feedback because you're constantly comparing yourself. But you have to think like every time someone posts something, they tend to post the better parts of their life and put that on like on the showcase rather than what else is going on behind the scenes. Maybe that car's all debt, maybe they've just had a baby but they're about to break up. Maybe they've just got married but they've got nothing left in the bank. You know what I mean? Like, could be anything. You know what I mean? And people don't look at that. And I think jumping on social media and just scrolling, it's really hard not to compare yourself to other people. And then again, that reinforces that I'm not good enough. And then people become depressed, and then they're not actually going out and interacting with people and talking with people and thinking, oh, what's your story? Like, because if they talk to that person that just got married and they want to get married, so that's why they're depressed.
Yeah, that's right.
They want to find the love of their life, and this person has, and they're talking to this person, and they talk about their marriage or whatever, but then maybe something else has happened in their life that's really bad and sad. And then it's like, oh, all right, well then maybe my life isn't that bad. I'm just not married yet, but I've got so many other good things to be happy about. And you're only going to get that from face-to-face interaction.
That's true, yeah.
So, and not through social media. So
and it's funny, it's ironic because it's called social media.
I know.
And it's like, obviously we're connecting over the internet, but yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that, especially with the tribe and having that community together. And I think if we had to bring like the business side of things, like if you would know, like you'll notice this yourself, and I think also too, just following the behind the brand, there's not much like people within like our area that have that commonality to come together and kind of create that sense of community within the business space.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because like we're all kind of competing like with each other and against each other, but obviously it's healthy because if you think about it, like if I look at, let's say, if we go to broader, you got Apple and you got Samsung, let's say, and it's like, oh, if it wasn't for Apple being like the top in terms of like iPhones and smartphones, Samsung wouldn't be where they are now, vice versa. And so, but yeah, going back to the community, like one thing I've noticed is it's very rare to have that sense of community within businesses and like business owners and like entrepreneurs coming in together. We both know, like when we started, it was just us. Like for you, it was just you and Sea Change Nutrition. For me, it was just my business, TKV, and it's a lonely place. And especially when you're in your head a lot and all that jazz. But would you say that having that sense of community and having like-minded people around you within the business space, would you say that would have elevated you like a lot further to where you are now?
100%. So I've never really been afraid of other people doing well around me and thinking that I wouldn't be able to do well because they're doing well. So again, I think that falls into like that that state of mind that's like scarcity, and I think scarcity will continue to pull things away from you rather than think about, okay, how can we build things together? How can we continue to work together and push forward together? And that is a massive because I wouldn't be Sea Change Nutrition and have a successful business if it wasn't for all the people that I worked with.
That's
like
right.
My whole business is based on guiding people, and if they don't do the work, I wouldn't have a business. It's as simple as that, because I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. So when we come together and I'm able to help them along their path and their journey, and then they're able to execute, then it's like that's when the magic happens. So that there in itself is built upon working together. And then if I look outside of it, so if I think of other coaches and that are doing their own thing, like I don't really look at them as competitors, because what's good about the online space is you have your own personality, and people are going to want to work with you, maybe because of people you've helped, or maybe because people you've helped or work that you've done if it was something else. And your personality can go a long way. And again, talking about humans and how we need relationships and everything like that. If someone likes you, they're more likely to go to you.
That's true.
Even if someone else might produce a little bit better work, but they're a dick. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Because
I completely agree with that. And the reason why I'll say that is because I don't know if anyone can tell this, but I just got a fresh fade today, and my barber I've been going through for 7 years.
Yeah.
And we just actually had a chat about this before I came to the studio, that when it comes to your business, and because he ended up telling me about some of the stories that he had with his clients, and how some people just come in and go, and you probably had the same thing too with sea change nutrition. I've definitely had that in my side of business. And when we're having that conversation, he was mentioning about how majority of the time people would only come in if they actually generally had a rapport with you.
Yeah.
And if they don't feel like they have that connection, then they'll go find somewhere else.
Yeah.
But for me, he used me as an example, saying that, you're pretty much one of the OGs that has, been coming for 6 to 7 years. And I only just realized, it's actually because I genuinely not just like you, but I actually have that rapport with you. There's a deeper sense of relationship that I have with you that I don't have with any other barber out there.
Yeah.
Would you say that is something that that's valuable in your side of business, within Sea Change Nutrition?
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you anymore when it comes to that, because people, they want to find you relatable. So again, like I was saying, just say I was to do a post of when I was overweight, right, compared to when I was shredded, it's he's human. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
Because most of the time I'm human, and it's just that short period that you look amazing for a show or whatever, or maybe doing a cut, but in the long term, it's not really that sustainable. So people want to be able to relate to you. If they can relate to you, they're more likely to go with you, because not only that, but there's that sense of I'm helping this person out, so I'm supporting their business, and it makes you feel good, because it's what do they say? My dad used to say the saying, Christmas is as much for the parents as it is the kids, because giving feels really good, and that's why people give. That's just, you know what I mean. So it's it's definitely, if you feel like you're contributing and you have a purpose, that's a big thing, and people can see that. So if people can see that you have their best intentions at heart, they're going to choose you. I just even know, when I make different purchases and stuff, we're doing different things to the house.
Yep.
There's certain tradesmen that we would really we have rapport with.
Yeah.
And then even if they did they stuff something up, we'd be more patient with them.
Yeah.
Rather than someone that we didn't mesh with.
That's true.
And then even that in itself, we're talking about people take you for granted, your good nature.
Yeah.
So I remember one of the guys that did some work for us, were real friendly with him and everything. My partner was real friendly with him, right off the bat. And then he ended up being a bit of an arsehole in the end. And I reckon it was because we showed a lot of good nature at the start.
Yeah.
So again, mistaken kindness for weakness, unfortunately. So, and then we just switched it up on him, and he's like, what?
Because that's the thing, and if we have to bring back the humility card, people don't realize that it's definitely a choice that we all make to do.
Yeah.
If you're going to be humble, you're making the decision to be.
Yeah.
But don't mistake that. When you're talking about, don't mistake kindness for weakness.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when it comes to the humility card. It's don't misinterpret my humility.
Yeah.
Because just like anyone else out there in the world, we've all got a different side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And instantly can switch up.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think having that little bit of unpredictability is a good thing as well. You know what I mean? So because I've showed people just my nice side, and then all of a sudden my blunt side comes out, and they're like, "Oh, what?" And it's just
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. And it's just, but it's that's me just being real. If I feel like you're taking me for a ride, I'm gonna say something about it. You know what I mean? So. And people will respect you for that as well. And if they don't, that doesn't matter. Maybe you're just not meant to work with that person.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Some people are just not meant to be in your circle, or you're going to have bad experiences.
Or even
people.
in your client base too.
Yeah, 100%. So you're bound to have a negative experience. You think about positive reviews. So obviously you want to have as many positive reviews as possible, but there's going to be a time when maybe you didn't even do something wrong, but a customer's going to be unhappy with you. And if you try to serve them as best you can and, you know, say to them, what would you like me to do to help us like with this problem? And then if they haven't really got anything to say, and then you don't really have to deny them of anything. Do you know what I mean? Obviously it depends what it is, but they're going to walk away with like, oh yeah, true. Well, he did do that, and so I just thought I'd get more, because there's every now and then I'll get something, right?
Yeah.
Because people have different expectations of like what I provide, and then when they jump on board, they will quickly figure out like what it's all about, and 99% of the time, beautiful. And then I'll have, every now and then, once in a blue moon, I'll have someone like, yeah, I can't even think of like the phrase or the sentence, but I remember it's been 2 different times, and it was very similar wording. Just say it was like, I was happy with your services, but it could have just had this, right?
Yeah.
Just say it was something like that, and then or it could have just had something more like this, and then you'd be like, okay, can you please detail like what you would like, so then I can take it as constructive criticism
To get better.
Yeah, to get better. And they didn't write anything.
Yeah.
They didn't even, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what were you looking for exactly? Maybe you didn't even know what you're looking for. So if I did give you that other thing, maybe that still wouldn't have been good enough for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, because people are people. Do you know what I mean?
It's the hardest.
They
It's
could
actually
even be having a bad day.
Yeah, it's actually the hardest thing, and it's like the biggest blessing, but it's the hardest thing too, is working with people,
Yeah.
because you can just they can instantly change.
Yeah.
They can have a change of heart. They can have a change of mind.
Yeah.
They might want to have a certain goal of losing weight. If I want to use the example of CD, change nutrition, and then out of nowhere they're just like, I just want to stop.
Yeah.
And then, or let's say they say that they're going to commit, but out of nowhere they change their mind.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you've got those people that actually dedicate themselves from the start to the end.
Yeah.
And that's where the fruit comes out of play. And that's when you're like, okay, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah. 100%, man, 100%. And the more people you work with, the more positive experiences you'll have. So it's just a matter of time. It's like just certain people that I work with, like throughout the years, and I think like it was just a matter of time before like the stars line, the right people jump on board, and it's like, for instance, last year, so I've had competitors compete a few years ago, like before I really got stuck into Sea Change Nutrition and doing the business and the brand and everything like that. And I was just doing the coaching, and then I just had a lot of Gen Pop stuff, Gen Pop guys and girls when I really got into it. And then I had like one competitor, she did pretty well. Then the next season I had another competitor, he did pretty well. And then slowly over time, then it's like I've got 3 people going into this next show, and then another 2 in the middle of the year, and then 1 at the end of the year. So it's just being patient and just respect like that patience and consistency, and just keep like chipping away. Like I don't know if I posted on my story the other day, but it's like the little miner. Yeah. And there's 2 miners. One
I've seen that one. Yeah. One shipping away.
Yeah.
And then was it the one that I've seen another one where one shipping away and the other one was like nearly there, but he ended up
he turned around and went back.
Around and walked, and it was just there.
Yeah. And that's what all of them opportunities are. Like even like here, coming on this podcast, talking to you, I get to meet a new person who's doing something interesting, and then this person's interested in me. So then that's like, do you know what I mean? There's like even an exchange there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then it's like, what opportunities can come from this? What opportunities could come from this? For you as well. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's constantly looking at it like that. And sometimes you're gonna have bad experiences with people as well, like working with people, and you can't let
that hold you back from continuing to go.
100%, because I think that's where a lot of people will go wrong. They'll become focused on all the things going wrong, and they don't think about the things that are actually going right. True. And it's very easy to, because I see it happen to like a lot of people around me, even in my family, and I'm like, you've got 9 things that are going perfectly fine.
You just got that one little thing.
There's exactly
that's just drifting you away.
Yeah, it's just the one thing, and it's like, if you live life like that, you'll be miserable, because your whole life you're going to continually find something that you're not happy about. It's easy to find things that you're not happy about. Do you know what I mean? You could drive on the road and get in a bad mood in 5 minutes if you want to do, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, so you need to try to pull yourself away from that. But yeah, like even with different people that I've helped throughout, like in the past, maybe some people I've sunk heaps of time into and then didn't get anything back out of them. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like that happens as well. And then maybe they go and then work with someone else. So it's like you sunk all this extra time into them and then they go work with someone else and you put all this time into them and they work with someone else and then they do well with this next person. But it's because you build the foundation, right. You know what I mean? And they're like thinking, oh, I've kind of burnt my bridge with this person, stuff I'll go to this next person. Yeah. And then you've kind of like helped them.
Yeah. And then the other person ends up getting the success story.
Exactly.
And then that ends up becoming the cover of the success story.
That's right.
And then
like, and then that's on Time Magazine. And then
or they're under like they're like the major sponsor of like a big brand.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, I was the one that done the
100%, man. It happens and it's bound to happen, and you can't become like green over it. You can't become envious, or just let it motivate you to push you harder. Like, so even just say there's different coaches in my space that are doing really well, that would actually motivate me to work even harder. You know what I mean? So what do I need to do to like be as good as this person or stay ahead of this person? Or not that it's competition, but it kind of is in some regards. But you want to stay competitive. You want people to be looking at you, and if you can become like a household name in a certain area, even it's a good thing. Do you know what I mean? So like my thing is I was thinking if I can help enough people, as soon as someone thinks I want to lose weight, and I want to fix my eating, I'll jump on with Sea Change Nutrition. Do you know what I mean? And then it's funny how like that can happen, and that's just like a thought.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of niche that everyone can benefit from. Who doesn't want to know how to eat a bit better? Do you know what I mean? And that's where it kind of leaves the floodgates wide open initially. And then if you can hit the ground running, stay ahead, and so. But yeah, like even just talking about the competition and that with different people, I've continue to encourage them along their journey. So they'll be like, how many clients do you have, or this or that? And then, sometimes I share, sometimes I won't. And then they'll be like, oh, wow, I like that. And then you encourage them and push them. And you you can tell them, don't worry, like before you know it, you have a few good people go through and you'll have clients like coming out of your ears as well. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, it's just... That's the other thing as well, right? So if you're talking about like people want to buy a product from you because of you, then how do you step away from that? Because it's like, once you
start growing,
because
obviously there's going to come a point where you don't want to be in the business but working on the business.
Exactly.
And it's like, how can you still have people come through? Knowing that you're no longer the business, but you're actually branching out. And like you're starting to have other people come on board. To do the work.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So. And I'm in the process of doing that now. So I've got another coach that I'm getting on board, and he's. So then I've got to think about how am I going to put him out there and make people feel comfortable with him. And it's funny, like I've already done some sort of little feeler things, and it's worked out pretty well. People are pretty like, as long as you give them your tick of approval. So it's got like the Sea Change tick of approval, my tick of approval. I would even be coached by this person, and I've said that, and then they're like, okay, you know what I mean? Because it's like either wait and work with me because I'm full at the moment. I'm happy for you to wait, or if you want to get on right now, I've got someone that you can work with that who's really good.
You know what? Like, I actually heard this saying, and it was actually from Nick, which is who's our co-host. He mentioned that like people buy people. And it's like people don't buy products, they buy people. So if they look at, let's say, your brand, they're like, I'm not just going to purchase it because it looks good, but I'm also going to purchase it because of who it came from. And I think it's the same thing when it comes to like your business, which is like Sea Change Nutrition. It's like, you know, people aren't just going to buy into the product of their results, which is what your goal is, to help them with their results and whatever goal they're wanting to achieve, whether it's losing weight or getting ready for competition. But they're definitely investing into you and investing into Blake, because obviously, if we look at the type of marketing that was produced, you have advertisements, but definitely word of mouth would have been something that was being pushed in the background.
Yeah, massively. So that's been a huge thing there in itself. So like, as much as people want to work with Blake, right? People will jump on board because of a person that I've helped, because they will see something in that person that they see for themselves.
Yeah.
So as much as I want to make it all about myself, it's not really about myself. It's about who I've helped, and then them seeing what they
have
look
gone
like.
through, and then they're looking at the person that helped them get there.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll be like, oh, so-and-so's transformation, amazing. Do you think we'd be able to achieve something like this? And sometimes I need to say no, because I go, we'll achieve your best version.
Yeah.
Or that's 10 years down the line. Like, you need to be honest with them as well, because some people have like unrealistic expectations. Really sort of pushing out there like you're your own person and you're going to have your own results is a big thing, because people will be like, oh, I'm only going to be happy when I look like this. And then, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, you actually look more like this person.
Yeah.
This would be a better goal for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, that's always, you want what you can't have. Do you know what I mean? But you can get a damn good version. So people need to focus not so much on being like someone else. They just need to be the best version of themselves. Yeah, and they'll be pretty happy with what they can achieve.
Yeah.
Because even like, you know, look at different like basketball players. Maybe one basketball player looked up to Michael Jordan and wanted to be like Michael Jordan, but then he became his own
version of himself. Yeah.
And then everyone looks up to him, and they're not really thinking about Michael Jordan.
A good example I think about is Kobe Bryant. Like, if you want to use basketball as a good analogy. Yeah. Obviously, he always looked up to Michael Jordan. Yeah. And obviously, they were coached by the same coach, which was Tim Grover. Yeah. But Kobe Bryant ended up becoming his best version of himself. Yeah. But he had to look at someone as like a goalpost. Yeah. To focus on, and then as he went along the way, because he was just chipping in and getting all the doing all the work on himself. Yeah. He ended up no longer becoming the next Michael Jordan. Yeah. He ended up becoming the Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. Exactly. 100%. 100%, man. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, people just need to worry about being the best version of themselves. Yeah. And I think there's nothing wrong with having role models. I think that's another massive thing there in itself, that there's not enough good role models out there. That's true. People don't chase like that good role model and model different aspects of their life after different people. You know what I mean? Just say like you've got fitness goals, you should model certain aspects of your life after that person that's achieved those goals. Or you got financial goals in business or whatever. Maybe you model yourself after certain things that they've done. Yep. So like even Tony Robbins,
love that guy.
Yeah, he's the best.
Tony Robbins is like literally like he's my number one life coach. Yeah. Like in the game. Like everything that I've done over the course of my life has come from Tony Robbins.
Yeah. I love it, man. I love it. You know what's so funny? I had like a epiphany the other day, right? I was sitting on the toilet, as you know, a great thinking space.
Oh, it's the best. It's either the toilet seat or it's the shower.
Yeah, 100%. Or the car.
The car.
The car, yeah.
If you know, you know.
The one place you're not naked. Unless you are. Yeah, so I was thinking of all like the self-help books and everything that I've read. I don't just like sort of think of, oh yeah, in this chapter, this was talked about this. Like, I don't really think of it like that, but it runs on like that subconscious level. Do you know what I mean? So a big thing with, tell me if I'm wrong here, but Tony Robbins was talking about, is it Kaizen? Is it Kaizen or?
Yeah, it's the Japanese.
Yeah. And it's continual improvement.
Yeah, growth.
So that's his thing. One of his answers to stay away from depression and have direction and everything like that. So self-improvement in all aspects of your life. And I can't remember all of them, but maybe it was like financial, mind, body, soul, relationship, something like that. And I think that's important. Like that's them, like we're talking about with those pillars. If you've got, you know, a few of them pillars standing and one goes down, you've still got many other good things in your life. But if you're only working on the one pillar and that falls over, then you're gonna be depressed. You know what I mean? Yeah. So something else that he was saying was, it was continual improvement and. Yeah, I lost thinking about that on a subconscious level, like so many of those things. Sometimes you'll live your life by different things you've read in those books, and you don't even know it's from like a certain chapter or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's just certain sort of standards you hold yourself to. And his big thing as well is he was talking about raising your standards.
Yeah.
So raising your standards for yourself, and then raising your standards for other things in life, relationships that you want to have, and everything like that. And then you'll find that slowly, like your life will continue to improve based off that. Just it's funny how all that can work, and it's just by raising your standards, raising what you expect for yourself. Yeah.
No, yeah. Tony Robbins, man, he's the GOAT in my mind, the GOAT of all GOATs when it comes to life coaching. But it's so funny how you brought that up. Tony Robbins, Is there any other like big influence that you've had other than Tony Robbins, like in your workspace? Because definitely, like, well, I'll ask you this question first. So, what actually got you into like reading those like self-help type of books?
Well, so like my mum was like really big on like the laws of attraction and and attracting things into your life.
Yep.
So
if you want something, then you want to attract the things that will get you towards that goal.
Yeah, 100%. So if you can like think about it, so I was The Secret was the first book I was that Bob Proctor or something. I don't know who wrote The Secret, but The Secret was like the first book that I read, and Mum let me read that. And it was like I just still remember like my mum's. That's like Macquarie Foods Housing Commission, and she's still in Macquarie Foods Housing Commission. Always kept like a mad, beautiful, perfect place, like a little old lady, but like it was in the and still is in the slum. But I remember like sitting on the toilet as I wake up in the morning, I'm reading The Secret, and I'm trying to just absorb as much of that as I can, and then I go from that one book to Tony Robbins was another one. At the moment, like the Atomic Habits is another good one.
That is my favorite book.
Yeah.
Atomic Habits. And you know what? I'm looking at Atomic Habits. Would you say, well, did you end up finishing reading it, or are you?
I haven't read the whole Atomic
thing?
Habits yet.
Okay.
No, not yet.
It's funny because I'm looking at, I look at that book because I've read the whole thing twice.
Yeah.
And I look at what you're doing, and I'm like I actually thought that's what you're doing. Like you're modeling that, because a lot of things that you share on social media, James Clear actually talks about.
Yeah.
Like today you just mentioned about identity.
Yeah.
And about like, looking at the identity and the person that you want to become, and to like just focus on that.
Yeah.
As opposed to focusing on like everyone else.
Yeah.
Around you.
Yeah.
Funny enough, that's what it talks about in the book. It talks about I think there's like 3 circles. I don't know if you've looked into it. It's
I think I'm about halfway through the book.
So behavior change. The 3 layers of behavior change. So obviously the middle would be identity.
You for know it, eh? Page 123.
Yeah. But so if you're looking at like identity, like starting from there and then going out, like in terms of like the layers and pushing out, it's funny. I look at what you're doing, and like that's what I was assuming. Is that like you're already utilizing that model?
Yeah.
But it's funny. I think once you get to the end of the book, you start to realize that it's something that you're already doing. There's just obviously probably like little like minor changes that you can add into your arsenal of building up like your Sea Change nutrition.
I'm trying to think of like some mad one-liners, even from that book or just different books that I've read, and they can like ring really true to. They're like just little mental jewels that you can just think of when you're like unmotivated to do something. Because his whole thing in that book, one of the things I've taken from it so far is it's just stringing all those habits together consecutively over a long period of time is going to get you to your goal. And there's so many
small things.
Yeah, it's the small things that matter. So it's just ticking those little things off that list continually, and then it's like, okay, that's Monday, and then again Tuesday, Wednesday. And I'm trying to think if it was Tony Robbins' book, and he was using like the analogy of driving down a dark road and just having your headlights on in the car and thinking of you're trying to get to a destination, just say it was another state, right? And it's hundreds of kilometers or thousands of kilometers away, hundreds of kilometers away. And that task would feel overwhelming. But if you just focus on that next 20 meters in front of you, it'll come faster than you think. And it's a lot easier to manage for your mind.
That's so true.
Because you don't become overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So if you can really focus on that, tasks become a lot less, gigantic. So, and then your mind can process it. You don't feel overwhelmed, and you just get on with it. So, And it's funny, like even reading that book, so this will be the first time that I'm reading it,
Yep.
and I'll read different things, and I'm like, well, that's why I was successful at that thing. That's why I was successful at that thing. And it's
It
like,
gives you
it's weird.
what do you call it? Confirmation.
Yeah, 100%.
That
Yeah,
like that's why you were successful.
yeah,
Whether it's competing,
yeah,
whether obviously your second was actually your first.
Yeah,
if that
yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Like you
yeah.
know when you came second on the platform in Melbourne, that was
Yeah.
actually you coming first.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
how it felt.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
you were like G'd up.
yeah, yeah,
But then like if you're looking at Sea Change Nutrition and seeing where your business is going, it kind of feels the same way too.
yeah,
In terms of it makes sense as to why I'm here. Like
Yeah.
it's giving you that confirmation. Like
Yeah.
if I had stopped at that moment where I was getting all this negative feedback, I could have stopped. But all it takes is that one to just keep going.
yeah,
And like there's one client that comes through, and then it's like, all right, cool, let's start with the next one. And
Yeah.
then the next one will come through.
yeah,
And then next thing you know, you're at the point now where you've had to hire, like
Yeah.
you know, someone else to come in and do the exact same thing that you were doing at the start.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, 100%, man. It's exactly right. It's yeah, it is. Yeah, because it's funny like how that will sort of, you don't even realize that it's sitting there in your subconscious and you're doing things based off something that you read in a book. And I think I haven't even made it to the end of the Tony Robbins book, but the things that I've read in the book, I think I even started his second book and I got halfway through that.
Yeah.
But I find like, say if I'm doing like a comp prep or something like that and I'm dieting down and it becomes really hard, you're like more emotional.
You need
everything's more-
something at that moment.
Yeah, 100%. And you just like lock in. So it's funny, like doing a prep, because you got to be, you're continually operating on lower and lower energy from food and creating more and more output with training, it becomes a really hard thing.
Yeah.
And you fall into like a bit of a slump. So you need to find something to keep your mind occupied. So you're not thinking about food or this or that.
Yeah.
And I like to use it as like a real self-improvement time.
Yeah.
So it's like think of like a monk going to,
Well, if you think about it, like everything's all heightened. Like
Yeah.
I don't know from experience, but
Yeah.
I'm just going based on the conversations I've had with the guys that I know that's done like prep.
Yeah.
Like everything is heightened,
yeah,
including your emotions. Like
Yeah.
your emotions are like all over the
yeah,
place,
yeah,
and it's mainly because, or from you can correct me if I'm wrong, but everything that you once were used to, like sugars and you know all the carbs and
Yeah.
you know all the foods that you used to eat, you're no longer getting that, and so your mind's starting to stress out, or your nervous system's starting
Yeah.
to stress out. Like where's the carbs? Where's the fats?
Yeah.
Where's the and then it just gets to a point where everything is getting heightened, like in terms of your emotions.
yeah. Yeah, it is. So like essentially like when if you're doing a comp prep for
Yeah.
men and women, depending on how lean they need to get, you need to get your body fat to a certain level. Like, so ideally, if you're doing a bodybuilding comp or something like that, you need to get shredded glutes. So to get your body to be sort of in the running to do well, and then you need, you know, good shape,
Yeah.
size, everything else. But to push yourself that low isn't an easy thing to do. And then when your body's essentially starving, so everything in your mind is telling you to eat, so then it interrupts your sleep because you're thinking about eating, your day-to-day tasks, you feel like you got cement in your shoes, walking around, everything is harder.
Yeah.
And it's like you're doing everything under more pressure, so then you're like more sensitive to everything, so everything becomes so that's why I try to use those things like the Tony Robbins books and stuff like that to like help keep me locked in and zoned in and focused. And even trying to take your mind away from the painful thing that you're doing helps. So like, you know, that's a weird time when I would, so what's funny, right, is carbs are like a massive driver of serotonin, which is like the feel good hormone.
Yeah.
And when the carbs are low, your feel good hormone is going to be low as well, but for extended periods of time, and your body fat being low. So your body wants to bring itself back to that level of homeostasis where the body fat's high enough, you're consuming enough food to like live optimally. Yeah. So when you're in that sort of like, it's like your body's going into that emergency state, everything is more sensitive, and you're more fatigued, and so it's not an easy place to stay in. And people do weird things to get that serotonin release. So they'll get like a shoe buying fetish or whatever. So they'll spend heaps of money on their car. Yeah. Or maybe they'll become really focused on,
because they're not getting fueled
Renos.
by the serotonin within, like, let's say carbs. Let's say they're going through a massive cut.
Yeah.
They start to find other areas in their life, whether it's financially or whether it's relational.
Yeah.
Which I've now starting to understand why. You know, one of my mates actually went through a breakup while I was going through prep, and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense," because he was chasing something else. If you know, you know. And like, it makes so much sense. Yeah, this is so good.
Yeah. So
like, what are we learning now?
Yeah. So it's like, and when people don't realize that. It's just funny because you'll just do anything to make you feel good. So then you know the whole retail therapy and it works, man. Like I would find like I was getting weird. Like so I was losing heaps of weight and I had to like dress up for the one school that I was going to, suit and tie sort of set up right, and my clothes were getting real baggy and that on me. And I was like, I got to get a smaller size. Get a smaller size, and it actually made me feel better because I was like, I'm fit on the part. I look good. Like. Well, any other time I'd just be like, you know what I mean? Presentable, but presentable enough. You know what I mean? You'll find you'd be more like pedantic about your hair or this or that. Like just anything to make you feel a bit better. Yeah. So it's definitely an extreme thing to do. But what you get from that is this mental toughness. Yeah. When you go back to life normally and you start like eating normally again, man, everything's like the sun's shining brighter, the green on the grass is greener, the sky's bluer. You just it's just a crazy thing, man. And to put yourself in that pain for an extended period of time. I say pain, it's through choice, but it's like it's a challenge. Look at it like a challenge, you know what I mean? There's people going through a lot worse pain than a hard diet, you know what I mean? But I'm just trying to exaggerate it to get the point across. When you come out of it, it's like, it's like such a relief. And you're more grateful for everything.
That's true.
So pain is a good thing in that regard, and not seeking comfort all the time, because if you're always seeking comfort, you're going to fall again into that depressive state of mind because you're not being stimulated. Like you have to think, I'm going to go Joe Rogan on you now. I'm going to go primal on you. You need to think like how human minds are. They're million-year-old, like depending on your beliefs and everything that. But you know, just under this belief, right? Just say we've evolved and everything like that. We're very old biological like beings. You know what I mean? So hunters, gatherers. So what men again? Then that falls back to the importance of community. Do you know what I mean? So you look at different roles that like men have in society and women have in society that are being tested these days. I better be careful what I say so that we don't get cancelled. You know? That's true. But when we're in our roles, like, and just say you were out hunting, you're together, you're communicating. You know, there's all these good things happening. Same thing with the women talking about. You know, they'd be talking about the men were talking about the women. Like we're old machines, and then when we come into this world, our brain hasn't really like continued to develop.
That's right.
And evolve unless we've got like a neural link chip from Elon Musk, right? So we're old machines. We run on like old tech. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just anyway. I think I lost what I was going to say.
No, it's fine. It's all good. It's all good. No, but you know what I'll do? I just want to quickly. I wanted to ask you. This is just an icebreaker question, just to kind of like get us back into check. Which is, so if you had to look at your memories, right? It's just a random question, just to get you thinking. So if you had to lose all your memories by tomorrow, what would be the last memory that you'd want to lose? So let's say if you think about everything that you've gone through, it's like it's all gone. But if there was the last memory that this is the one that you want to hold in, just keep it there, keep watching, and then it'll all start fading away. What would that be?
Man, 100% birth of my child. Yeah. That was the one thing. Yeah,
being a father.
Being a father.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah. It's just, oh man, like I just like my little girl. I just fall in love with her more and more every single day. It's just an amazing thing. Like seeing her grow into this little kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. From a baby to like these little, just like every day or, every 2 days or whatever, you just see like a new level unlock. You know what I mean? And seeing that happen and looking at her and seeing that she understands, like she gets that, is just the most magical experience, man. Like nothing could even come close to that. There's other things like, but nothing close to that at all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's just, that's the real pinnacle of it. And it's funny because for my whole life, I've never been like, oh, I can't wait to be a dad. I can't wait to be a dad. I've never thought like that was going to be my ultimate sort of defining moment.
Yeah.
But like seeing her come into this world, I was just like, oh my gosh, man, it's the most amazing thing to see life created.
Yeah.
Is just a crazy
And
thing.
you're all part of that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the one memory I'd want to keep. Yeah, and then I'm sure like I'll have countless memories with her. That it's like, oh, what
Yeah, I want
cheers.
that one. I want that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, those special few moments, man, gives me goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to follow up with that question of, okay, if that's something that you would hold as a last memory, would you say that that's the one thing that keeps you going?
It has given me a whole nother like layer of purpose,
Yeah.
because I never really struggled with purpose and meaning. But this has given me, this is like
Extra
really cemented
level.
that. Yeah. This has really cemented that. So like that's why. So I've even went back and done a few casual days at school this year, just so we can have more income.
Mm-hmm.
So just because Carly's not working now, and then I'm paying the both of us, and then she's not going to go back to school yet. So it's good for us to go in, and I feel like I'm doing like a good deed for the family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I know it's the wrong way to think, like, oh, I can never have enough money like that, but it's good for us in our relationship as well to get a little bit of time apart, because we have zero time apart, man. I work from home in my office at home and help Carly with OSHA whenever she needs it. And that can be very distracting from my work.
Yeah.
So I still get through all the work and everything like that. But having a day away where I go and again contribute to the family, it gives me all the more meaning and purpose.
and
then
drive to keep going.
Yeah. It gives me more drive, 100%. Like it's definitely, yeah. I never struggled with that purpose. But this is definitely like really cemented why I'm doing everything. It just gives it another. It's like the whole V8 with the supercharger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
This is a supercharge.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so yeah, man, it's a pretty crazy thing. Because she'll eventually go back to school and do a few days. I just think it's good for us because you lose if you're not talking to people face to face, and you're not, especially like with teaching, if you're not speaking in front of a class of kids regularly, you tend to lose that skill that ability. And then like a bit of anxiety is created over it. And then you go into that environment again. And then because you've got to manage.
Let's take it going back to square one.
100%.
So would you say that that was something that you felt when you started doing online? Because like obviously you're doing the online space, and so you're pretty much majority of the time working at home too.
Yeah.
So even just you coming out here and having this conversation kind of gives you that bit of the dynamic.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So like this was a good opportunity to come out here for many reasons, but also like it gives me another experience.
Yeah.
And like I appreciate that. You know what I mean? So and I feel like it's just a natural flow on of things. Like I was saying with opportunities, like it's like when they come, know that they're there and take them. Otherwise, it's like one opportunity come and go, come and go. And come. Why isn't anyone? Why aren't I getting any opportunities to
Well,
expand
maybe because you
myself?
haven't actually accepted any.
Yeah, 100%. Because like it is effort for me to come out here. It is like,
And even time too.
yeah.
Which is what, if you looked at the message, I did mention that. I was like, I understand that time is precious. And so that's essentially the reason why I said, bro, I'm so grateful that you came on here.
Yeah.
Because actually, it's funny, I think about, and this is a good plug-in, is like when it comes to money, like that's something that you can get back. So, like you can, get money, you can lose money. But when it comes to time, like that's something that you can't get back. It's like once time's gone, that's it. You can't get that one back.
Yeah.
So definitely value this.
Yeah. Nah, 100%, man. It is so true. Like, yeah, it is. But it was. I just had a feeling, man. Sometimes you just get a feeling about stuff. I was like, yeah, this will be good. Yeah. So, I was looking forward to it, man, for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm grateful for you for jumping on. We're just about to land the plane of our podcast episode. And this is my last question before we finish up. And it's got to do with Sea Change Nutrition. So, wait, before we do, can I ask, how did the name come about?
So I still remember like where we were when we thought about it. So I find it really hard. Well, both me and my wife find it really hard to sit down and like talk about business ideas or this or that. Like we'll just do it in passing, in walking, doing something in the kitchen, whatever. But I always find a good spot for us to discuss things about the business is when we're going for a drive on like a holiday up the coast, down the coast. So we're trapped in the car for 3 hours, 4 hours together or whatever. And we're talking about the business idea and what we could do and what name we could come up with. And then I've always liked the beach and the ocean and everything about that. Like it's just got like a tranquility about it. And it can just really ground you. And Carly knows that. And then she's like, and we're going on a holiday to the beach, right? And she goes, what about like sea change? Like that. And I was like, yeah, what about sea change? Like sea change. Yeah. Like SEE, not like actual SEA.
Oh, sea change. Yeah. Like the beach.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like sea change, like that, like anything's better than, there's nothing better than a sea change, right? But also sea change in someone's physique. So then sea change nutrition. Yeah.
So that's how it started.
Yeah, that's it.
And you know what's so cool is like when you create something, the meaning comes after.
Yeah.
So obviously you just put the like sea change nutrition there, and then the meaning starts to be created as you start going along the journey.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like it rings true to like when you do a transformation with someone, they're seeing change, and that's what everyone wants to do. And you think again with like that Kaizen thing with Tony Robbins,
continuing improvement.
Yeah, it's like continuing improvement. So seeing that continuing improvement is satisfying, makes you feel happy. So yeah.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's exactly how I seen sea change was the way that you had seen it, which is like you're literally seeing the change of the physique or the change in your lifestyle or your change in habits. So there's definitely so much other things that you can add the layers into your brand, which is Sea Change Nutrition.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, man. It's it's funny how you can come up with a name. She's pretty creative.
Yeah.
She came up with that. And then our daughter's Osha, like ocean.
Yeah. So what's the boy going to be, the next boy?
River. I'm not even joking.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see. Like, we don't even know if we...
Wait, which sea?
Okay. Yeah,
Oh.
so
River.
I'm not going to say anything because I'll just walk into something.
Yeah. Well, other than that, my last kind of question that I did want to ask you is, there are going to be people on here that are from your following, but we're definitely wanting to build a platform for entrepreneurs or people that want to start or want to be entrepreneurs out there. If there was one advice that you could give to those out there within the business space that you've learned, that could be like a big asset for them, what would that be in terms of the advice you can give?
Be true to yourself, because no one will do it any better than you, and people will be able to see through a fake facade. If not off the bat, they'll be able to see it eventually. So kind of just being as honest as possible and believing in what you do is a big thing. And I think you need to have a bit of purpose behind what you do and be able to show that and demonstrate that to people. Be patient, be consistent. There'll be times when the only person that believes in your idea is yourself. And if you don't believe in it, then no one else will. Like, you really need to see it yourself and envision it and how it's going to look. And there was plenty of times when I didn't know how I would get to like this point. And then, like I said, before I knew it, I was just doing my thing, and it was beyond my wildest dreams how fast it had grown.
Yeah.
And just try to give everyone your best, and just think like my dad has a saying. He's like, 1,000 attaboys is worth one oh shit. So essentially, if you do 1,000 good things and you do one bad thing, it's equal.
Yeah.
So try to do the right thing as often as possible because people would tend to obsess more about that bad review than the positive one. So maybe you got 10 positive reviews and you have one bad review, and people will tend to really focus on the negative because again, that's like another human nature thing. People look for like negative things. So they're like, because then they'll look at the positive things and they go, oh, maybe they just told someone to go in there and write a positive review. Yeah. You don't know, you know what I mean? And that's something even, because you need to look at like your product. You need to try to look at your product from an outside perspective as well. So you need to look at it as like a buyer looking in and what would I expect? Yeah. What would I want? Would I be happy with this? If the answer is yes, you're doing a good thing. If the answer is no, then you need to ask yourself why. Like, I think some people become too obsessed about money, and when they become too obsessed about money, the quality of their like everything else goes down. So they'll cut corners. Like even just think of like different products over time that you really liked, and then they started cutting the corners on the quality of the product, and then you're like, it hasn't got the same touch, feel, whatever. Like think of like Apple. Apple's good because it's got good quality. Do you know what I mean? But there's so many reasons why Apple is good, but it's not really like, oh, this iPhone's fallen apart. They've got really good customer service. Yeah. So anytime I've had a problem with one of my Apple products, I've been able to call them, and within 2 minutes, I'm talking to a human, not a robot. Yeah. And that means a lot. So the positive experiences for the customer will stick with them, but the negative ones will definitely stick with them. So maybe if they walk away with a positive experience, they'll tell, maybe if you're lucky, they'll tell 10 other people, but maybe they only tell 2 other people. Yeah. But if they have a bad experience, they're likely to tell everybody they know, because it's a conversation starter, you know what I mean? Sitting at a table having lunch at work. Oh, what about I worked with so-and-so? Oh, they were so rude, blah, blah, blah. It could be anything, you know what I mean? But they'll be sure to go and spread that negativity because it's a story. It's a bit of gossip. Yeah. And they don't know, they essentially don't know how damaging it is to your business. But then, also just take it as take it with a grain of salt. That every now and then you're going to get people like that, and you can't let it turn you off doing business because you're afraid of the next negative experience, because then you won't.
Which
grow.
You've gone through, like you've gone through yourself. Yeah. You're able to bounce back from that.
You're gonna have a negative experience here or there, or like I said, you could invest heaps of time into someone only for them to go somewhere else, and then that same person might even want to come back. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you need to make the decision as to if they come back, what are the, like, under what terms or whatever. But you need to be a good communicator. Like you can't, I think to be good in business, you can't lack communication skills. And you're not like, it doesn't mean you're going to be great off the bat either. Like I can waffle for hours, but sometimes like I'm not a good communicator. Maybe I'm a bit tired, maybe whatever. Like it could be, sometimes you just wake up and you wake up on the wrong side of bed, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you just haven't got your flow, or you're not speaking properly. Yeah. So, but I think that being a good communicator and getting your point across is always going to be really important. Yeah,
this is hectic, bro.
But I could keep on going. I know. I'll go down this one and then that path and come back down to this side.
Well, we're definitely going to wrap it up. Blake, bro, thank you so much for jumping on board. And we actually have a cultural thing that we do on the Behind the Brand. And what we do is we actually get the previous special guest to ask the question for the next special guest, which is you. Yep. And so our previous special guest, their question for you is, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Good question.
So you're 18 and you're giving the advice. What would it be?
Can I think about this one? What would it be?
So where were you at 18?
When I was 18, I was in uni.
Okay.
Yes, I was in uni. So even with, I might need to kind of describe what. I can't think of anything off the bat for the sheer fact that I'm a big believer in
everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. So we're meant to like walk that path for a reason, because we learn things for a reason. Like, who's to say that me being a teacher, managing all those kids in class, one day won't like fall over into maybe Sea Change is grown far bigger than what it is, and it has many employees, and then I'm managing all these employees. Because essentially what I'm doing now is I'm managing all these people to help them with their fitness goals.
And kind of like, if you looked at when you were 18 at the time and like going through the stage of like teaching and like growing, like there was moments where you couldn't handle 5, and now you're able to handle 30.
Yeah.
And then it's like the same thing that's applied in Sea Change, where you weren't able to like help out 5 clients, but now you're able to help out like 30.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah, 100%. That's
If
exactly
you weren't
right.
able to go through that, then you wouldn't be where you are now.
Yeah. So I think like there's so many lessons that can be learnt in so many different like aspects of your life that you don't realize that its importance. You know what I mean? So I feel like everything that happened to me, good and bad, throughout my life has been for a reason. And I think having that outlook again on life is very comforting when you're going through the next hard thing, because you're like, what is that going to form me into in the future?
Yeah.
And I think having that like trust in the process and being consistent is going to eventually pay off for you. So yeah, it's a really hard one for me to answer. What would I tell my 18-year-old self? Just continue to be yourself and follow your nose.
Yeah.
I think everything happens for a reason, good and bad, and what can you learn from that experience? So I heard something the other day that was awesome, and it was like, in school we're told not to make mistakes and fail, and they're very discouraged. Where in real life, and especially business, you should make mistakes. I was even having a discussion with someone the other day who's got his own business in the same field, but in the same industry, but different field. And I was talking to him, I was brainstorming different like business ideas about what I might do. And then he's like, yeah, but what if this happens? But what if that happens? But what if this happens? But have you done this? Have you thought about this? And I go, yeah, but that's why I haven't made action on it. And I'm still haven't made now, like action on that task. But I'm going to just go in and jump in the deep end and just understand that mistakes will happen. I'm going to learn from them mistakes, and then I'll be better for it. Because you can't plan for every eventuation. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And that will force you into making no action at all, because you're so afraid of making a mistake.
That's true.
Like, yeah, you need to put a lot of thought behind things before you act, but don't overthink it, because overthinking it can be just as damaging as as
They say analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
The more that you analyze something,
yeah,
it paralyzes your mind, and
yeah,
you're not doing nothing.
yeah,
Which honestly, I think is what a lot of people, it holds a lot of people back from starting that business, or whether they're currently in the business right now, like taking that next step, is because they're just so overwhelmed with so much thoughts in their mind.
Yeah.
So your answer would be just to be grateful in the fact that like whatever's happening, like it's actually made you who you are today.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah, 100%. Unless maybe I would have told my 18-year-old self, buy some Bitcoin. There's the advice.
Buy some Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Nah, but Blake, bro, thank you so much for jumping on. If there are people out there that wanting to connect with you, or even just invest into your business, what's the best way that they can follow you?
Just contact me straight through Sea Change Nutrition. Yeah. And Sea Change is SEE.
Yeah, not SEA.
Yeah. On Instagram. On Instagram will be the best one, And it'll be tagged down here.
Yes, it will be. So for those out there that are watching on YouTube, it'll be down in the links down below in the description. But if you're listening into this through Spotify or any listening podcast, make sure you guys check out our Instagram, and we'll have Blake on there for you guys to connect with him. But Blake, man, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking out your time to come up here into the Better Media studio. And is there anything that you want to say before we finish up?
Nah, thanks for the opportunity, man. It's been a pleasure. This is a really cool experience. So if anyone else gets the opportunity to come out here and do a podcast with you, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. You're awesome, dude, man.
Thanks, bro.
All good.
Legend. I know this ain't going to be the last time I'm going to chat, so...
Yeah. Nah, 100%. We can organise something every now and then. Yeah, sweet. Just let me know.
No worries. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's all we got. Thank you guys all for tuning into the Behind the Brand, and we'll see you guys in the next one.